Did I tell you? Did I tell you that the majority of Democrats, the majority of Republicans support Medicare for all? I told you that in the last segment. So let me show you an interview Bernie Sanders did, which I think, when people are saying, oh, Bernie Sanders is too old to run for president, and Bernie Sanders, he's old news and blah, 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 blah. Listen to this message. Listen to this message from Bernie Sanders.
Wants to divide us up. So I think the choice in this election is about as clear as any congressional election in America.
Senator, Democrats have really lost pretty much all of rural America.
Yep.
This is a very rural district.
Yep.
It's very ag heavy, farm heavy. How do Democrats win back areas like this?
Crystal, that breaks my heart because I come from a very rural state and I love the rural way of life, and I am upset that in some 60% of rural counties in America we're losing population, schools are closing, churches are closing down, and we've got to rebuild rural America. And that means we need a national policy which, instead of giving tax breaks to billionaires, invests in education in rural areas, good paying jobs in rural areas, so that our kids do not have to leave the communities they love and where they grow up. That's what we've got to do. And I know that JD is deeply concerned about that issue as well.
Yeah, JD, you come from a family of farmers. What are farmers here in the district telling you that they're concerned about? Because farm incomes were way down,
right,
even before this trade war.
Right.
So what's behind that? What are you talking to them about?
We've had 4 consecutive years of low commodity prices, even before the tariffs even got mentioned. And so we're out there talking about market consolidation and how farmers are getting squeezed on both the input side and the output side. We're talking about the renewable fuel standard being abused in D.C., the oil refinery waiver. That has depressed corn prices because of the carryover by up to 40 cents a bushel. And the last thing we talk about is the trade wars and how we're bearing the brunt, the 4th District, whether it's our manufacturing or it's our agriculture, and just bearing the brunt of this war. And it's just hurting this district pretty hard.
And I would add that in Vermont, it's, we don't do soybeans and corn, we do dairy.
And that's getting hit as bad as
Terrible.
anything.
We've had year after year of record low prices, and we're losing farmers every week, and it's a very, very sad state of affairs.
Senator, it's interesting that you say that, because obviously there's a lot of hype in the news about low unemployment rates, high stock market, but in a place like this, are they seeing those gains?
The truth is the economy is doing very, very well if you're very wealthy.
Yep.
If you've got a huge tax break, if you have a lot of money in the stock market, but a lot of people don't. And what we are seeing all over this country, in fact, is that for the average worker, they're going nowhere in a hurry. In many cases, they're working longer hours for low wages. And what we see, whether it's Vermont or Iowa, people can't make it on 10 or 11 bucks an hour. So the issue is low unemployment is a good thing. But we need jobs that pay people a living wage. We need to have a situation where people have health care, where they can send their kids to college, where they can provide child care for their little ones. And we don't have that now.
Bernie Sanders was there. He was campaigning for J.D. Shelton, I believe his name is. Hold on. J.D. Shelton in Iowa. No, that's not his name. J.D. Bernie. Yeah, J.D. Shelton, J.D. Shelton, who I would definitely vote for because he's running against Steve King in Iowa. That Steve King, that Islamophobe, that lunatic, I would probably vote for, I'd vote for a pony, actually, over Steve King. So, J.D. Shelton, yeah. But why I'm showing you that clip is because all these people are saying Bernie Sanders is too old to run for president. All these people are saying we need somebody younger, out with the old, out with the new. Well, did you hear what he said on how Democrats can win back rural communities like Iowa? Did you hear what he said about Democrats going to campaign in places they have not complained? No, you didn't, because I didn't play it yet.
Let me just pick up this. What JD said is exactly right. You ain't going to win if you don't show up. And the sad truth is that in many parts of this country, Democrats have kind of conceded those states to right-wing Republicans. But the other issue is, and JD also made this point, that if you look at most of the issues, I'm not going to say all, there are divisive issues in this country. If you talk about health care for all, you know what? That's what the American people want. raising the minimum wage, making public colleges and universities tuition free or at least affordable, rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure and creating good paying jobs in doing that. You know what? That's what the American people want. Not a radical idea. That's what the overwhelming majority of the American people want. So if JD goes out, he starts talking to thousands of people and says, this is what I stand for. They're going to say, yeah, well, it makes sense to me.
This so-called, this so-called old guy is the only person articulating an actual message to the very people that have left the Democratic Party. He's articulating a message to rural communities like Iowa, who have long abandoned the Democratic Party. He's articulating a message to the Rust Belt, who has long abandoned the Democratic Party. Remind you, Bernie Sanders won Wisconsin, won Michigan in the Democratic primary. He is articulating a message to blue-collar workers, Medicare for all, raising the minimum wage, better working conditions, which right now he is still going after Amazon. He didn't stop just because Amazon raised the minimum wage. He, and in fairness, Elizabeth Warren with him, is going after Amazon for their working conditions, which, by the way, we might be going into the field very soon to go cover Amazon's horrid Hunger Games-esque working conditions. So I keep hearing this, Bernie Sanders shouldn't run for president. You have Politico's hit piece. Bernie Sanders, his top staffers and people in his circle don't want him to run for president. First of all, that was bullshit, which I already reported. But this is the only politician in America actually articulating a message that resonates with the very people that have abandoned the Democratic Party. Yet we're told he shouldn't run. He shouldn't run. Too old, and can't do it. Well, you tell me, did you hear his answer on how to win back rural communities? Did you hear his answer on, shocker, going into Republican districts, going into Republican states to try and win? Do you think it's a coincidence that Medicare for All is rising in popularities at the same time that Bernie Sanders has gone around this country into, say it with me, Republican states? Bernie Sanders has gone to Mississippi. Bernie Sanders has gone to Kentucky. Bernie Sanders has been to Ohio. Bernie Sanders has been to Wisconsin. Bernie Sanders has been to, I believe, he's been to Missouri. He's been to a lot of Republican states since losing election. So what I'm saying is, I don't care if Bernie Sanders is 200 years old. Well, maybe 200 is a little old. He's got the right message. He's got the courage of his convictions. He speaks to independents. He speaks to rural people. He speaks with city people. His popularity has also risen among black people. And he will bring out a massive, unprecedented young vote. You need young people to vote for you. So I'm playing that clip because it is nonsense that Bernie Sanders shouldn't run for president. He's the only person actually articulating a message to the very people that have fled the Democratic Party. Okay?